Karen Vantaveras, and I'm the founder and CEO of Volunteer Spot, and I will be your facilitator today. And I'm very excited to be sharing social media savvy for educators. I want to say thank you to McGraw-Hill Education for sponsoring this event, and I want to bring all of your attention real quick, if you haven't been there already, to the McGraw-Hill Education Exchange page, the McGraw-Hill Exchange page, where they list all of their upcoming webinars. And I'll make sure to give you access to this page after our session today. And we have a very, very exciting panel for you today. Again, I'm Karen, and I'm the CEO of Volunteer Spot. With 2.5 million users, we're the leading online coordination tool that's used by teachers for everything from parent-teacher conference scheduling to organizing classroom volunteers in lower grades, organizing service learning in upper grades, and organizing everything from fun potlucks to large fundraisers. We've got Joe Mazza with us, who's a principal and the leader of PT Chat, the parent-teacher chat. And Joe is going to be talking to us today about using social media for parent engagement. We've got Lisa Dabbs, who leads the New Teacher Chat. She's an educational consultant with Edutopia, and she's at Teaching with Soul. And she's going to be talking to us today about using social media for parent engagement. And then we've got two educators with us. We've got Ronnie Burt, who is the Director of Sales and Operations at EduBlogs now, and he's a former teacher. And we've got John Samuelson, who's an ed tech specialist from the Eames District in Austin, Texas, which is my district. And he runs the Techlandia podcast, and he's at iPad Sammy. And both Ronnie and John will be sharing social media for classroom and how we can build student enrichment using social media tools. So welcome, panelists, today. Just a little bit of structure for the day. We're going to talk a little bit about why we're here, share some recent survey results about social media, and give you a very quick overview of the tools. Then we're going to jump into each panelist session, and then we're going to have questions at the end. So as you have questions, please go ahead and type them into the chat window and the question window at the right. We will be holding them and reviewing them, and at the end we'll have a chance to engage with the various panelists. If you are having technical difficulties, please put that information into the question as well, and we'll be monitoring that and can help you technically engage. Let me also just say that we are recording this webinar, and we will have the recording, the slides, and a whole slew of links and great resources available for you after this session today. So thank you again for joining us, and I'm going to jump right in. Let's just start with what is social media. Social media is any online technology or practice that lets us share. So we're sharing our content, our opinions, our insights, and we're having a conversation. Social media is two-way, three-way, four-way, 12-way conversation, which is different than traditional media, like a video you might watch but not comment on, or an article you might read, or something you might see in the newspaper or in a book. In social media, we have a chance to interact, to comment, to ask each other questions, and to support each other's learning. So the Pew Research Center did some recent stats on who uses social media. And you can see right here that lots of people use social media. if you're under 30, you're almost guaranteed to be using social media. It drops off a little bit as you're getting older, but if you look at people under 49, 73% are using social media. Women scale a little more heavily in social media than men. Perhaps that's because we're more naturally chatty. That's what my husband would say anyway. And if you look at race and ethnicity, we're very equally matched between white, non-Hispanic, black, non-Hispanic, and Hispanic. So social media is out there, it's growing, our children are growing up with it, and it's something that many of us are using in our personal lives, and today we're going to talk about how do we bring it into our lives as educators. So we did a survey with VolunteerSpot with our users, trying not to do the survey on our social media channels, but instead we did the survey through our email channel. And we asked our educators, which social media are you using and how frequently? And what we found is that 80% are frequently using Facebook and YouTube, and then 30 to 40% are using any combination of these other social media channels and platforms occasionally. Everything from Twitter, which is the little 140-character mini posts that you can post, Pinterest, which is wonderful little pin boards and almost like a scrapbooking technology we can use to gather ideas and comments, Skype, which is interactive video chats and calling, Google Plus Hangout, which is the ability to have intact groups who can talk together on private channels, EduBlogs, which is blogs for teachers and students, and Edmodo, which is almost like a private Facebook environment for teachers and students and learners. Let me just also back up to Twitter. I realized I didn't mention it, but our hashtag today is SM4EDU. So if you are on Twitter and you are tweeting today, please go ahead and tweet with that hashtag. We'd really appreciate it. Okay, let me come back to, these are the social media that is most commonly used by our educators on VolunteerSpot. There's new ones popping up all the time. My teenager, my 7th grader, is addicted to Instagram, which is basically Facebook with just photos. And so there's all kinds of new technology coming in all the time. So now let's look at why educators are using social media. 95% are using them for personal use. So we're comfortable in these environments for our personal use. We're probably using a little Facebook or a little YouTube or a little Twitter. What's great watching friends with new babies, they're using Skype to connect with grandparents just naturally. And then for professional development, so that's the other great thing. Our educators are very comfortable using different aspects of social media for professional development. They might be attending a webinar. They might be participating in a Twitter chat. They might be commenting on blogs with topics that they care about. What else? For student engagement and parent engagement, you can see our numbers drop off, but at least we're sometimes beginning to engage with students and parents with social media. And so that's what we're going to really focus on today, is looking at professional development, student engagement, and parent participation, and how can we use social media to add more tools to our repertoire. So the idea is not to make your job harder, but to make it more engaging, give you more support, and make things more engaging and interesting to get more parent participation and more student participation. And on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Dabbs. Go ahead, Lisa.
Great. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Karen. That was really a great intro to our webinar today. So let's go to the first slide, and just a little bit about, a little bit about myself. I am an education consultant. I was a former school principal. I did that work for 14 years, and I also worked for a federal project for about 5 years. And I took the jump to working as a consultant with Kaplan Educational Corporation, and then went off on my own. And so currently I am an independent consultant, and I'm very fortunate to do in that work, to work very closely with colleagues at Edutopia. I'm part of the core blogging team as well as their marketing team support. And I'm very active in blogging, and you can find me at teachingwithsoul.com, which is my blog site. So following from what Karen shared today, if our attendees are with us today, and I thank you so much for joining us, those that have come from around the United States and hopefully some from around the world. I'm going to continue going forward from what Karen shared in terms of using professional development. Let me talk just a little bit about why it's important for us to consider using professional development through social media. And if you're already doing that, that's fabulous. But we would highly encourage you to share with colleagues that might not be. So social media is a phrase that's tossed around a lot these days, and it's sometimes difficult to answer the question of what is social media. But the easiest way to do that and to look at why we should consider using it for our professional development is that, as Karen shared, media is an instrument in communication, like a newspaper or radio. So when we add the social to that, we are adding a social instrument of communication. And so what this means is that we're not just giving information, but we're interacting with the information in a way that's very exciting, very positive. So instead of a one-way street, as our traditional media is and has been for many of us growing up, social media provides a two-way street that gives us the ability to communicate with those around us. And so this is the important answer to why should we consider using social media for professional development, in that the biggest aspect is we're now able to communicate and collaborate back and forth with each other. So next slide, please. And social media is not just for kids. When I do presentations, not only in webinars, but also face-to-face presentations at conferences, many of the attendees who are educators will say, well, social media is for the youngsters. And so I'm here to tell you today that it is simply not just for youngsters. It's for everyone. All ages can benefit, and social media opportunities are frequently free, as this webinar is today. And when we begin to utilize social media for our practice, and that leads us into utilizing it for professional development, it's really going to be something that's going to help us to improve. Next. So basically, I'm going to talk about two things today as we're looking at harnessing social media. Is how should we use it, just a little bit about that, and can it really support us in our practice? If you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know, this is kind of a hard sell, I buy into this, but how can I get my staff on board? How can I get my colleagues on board? How can I get my Institute of Higher Ed on board? We're going to give you today in our presentation just a little flavor for why that's important. So how should we use it, and then really can it support us in our practice? Next. So one of the ways that I'm going to encourage you, if you're not already doing so, to begin is to think about using the power of social media. And to do that for professional development, you need to build your bio. You need to be able to have folks that you're communicating with and collaborating with, either locally or internationally or even nationally, know who you are. So the first step is to build your bio, and I'll tell you very quickly a few tips on how to do that. Then secondly, you're going to choose a tool or tools. If you're already using Facebook, think about using Twitter. If you're already using Facebook and Twitter, now's the time to leap into Google+. So you're going to choose a tool or a couple of tools, and you'll begin to use those. And then as you jump into those tools, you're going to find colleagues. You're going to find others that are using them. Friends that you have, professional colleagues in your building, colleagues in your Institute of Higher Ed, colleagues that are a part of your local community, and you're going to connect with them to begin to support yourself to use it. And then as you get comfortable doing that, you're going to begin to join events such as this one today. Congratulations for joining us. And there's many others that are fabulous, and they're free around the internet. And you're also going to think about joining some communities, Ning sites and other places that will bring you support, that will bring you opportunities to develop yourself. And then you're going to think about a term that we use a lot on Twitter, and the term is lurk and learn. I'm not very comfortable on Twitter. Well, just lurk, watch, and learn. Next, please. So to the first point that I shared with you about building your bio, it's really important that you do so. In a face-to-face collaborative, in a face-to-face communication in your building, in your Institute of Higher Ed, in your particular workspace, if you're an educator in an entrepreneurial setting, people know you. They know you. They're familiar with you. They see you every day. You walk in the door. But when you're doing that in the area of social media, people may not know you. And if they don't, and they want to, you need to be able to build your bio so that others can begin to connect with you and know what your strengths are, what your passions are, and why you're in social media spaces to begin with. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a very clear, very distinct bio on Facebook, on Twitter, and the other spaces that you might begin to think about going to. And this is a sample of my bio in a professional platform called about.me. It's very easy to develop, and I highly encourage you to think about doing that. But it gives you an example of how I expanded the kind of work that I've done in the past, the kind of work that I'm doing now, and things that I hope to do in the future. So be sure to build your bio in whatever social media space you begin to engage in. Next. And then after you've built your bio, you're going to choose your tool. So as I mentioned before, you might be on Facebook, and now you're going to go to Twitter. You might be in LinkedIn, which is a very professional social media space, but now you're thinking about venturing out into Google Plus and thinking about using Google Plus and Hangouts. Choose the tool that you think is going to be the most supportive for you as you look at developing yourself professionally, because again, that's what I'm talking about in this brief time. And when you choose that tool, you can do the same things that I talked about earlier. You can lurk and learn. You can go into Google Plus, watch that stream. You can join a Google Hangout where companies such as mcgraw-hill, Volunteer Spot, Edutopia, and others are sharing their information, sharing some ways to collaborate together in a Google Hangout. And you can lurk and learn. You can watch the Hangout and see folks that are sharing, that are collaborating, and take advantage of that in terms of moving your practice forward. Next, please. And then you're going to want to think about attending events. And some of these events that I want to share with you are Twitter chats. So if you're not on Twitter, I really encourage you to join Twitter. And when you do, I really want to encourage you to join and follow hashtags. Hashtags are a way to connect our learning when we are on Twitter, be it business professionals or, in our case, educators. And a couple of chats that I want to encourage you to join are the chat that I'm the founder of for new teachers, New Teacher Chat, EdChat, which is a huge educational chat that occurs every Tuesday. Mine occurs every Wednesday. And then I know that Joe's going to talk about his chat, which is profoundly supportive for parents, PT Chat. So when you get onto Twitter, you're going to want to think about using Twitter chats to support your learning. And let me give you a couple of reasons why. In terms of using Twitter, it's a huge network that believes in giving and getting, and you can use and share a lot of supportive and relevant information. You can begin to follow people that will want to connect to you based on your interests, and it's a huge 24/7 online professional development space. And when you do that, you're going to take part in these Twitter chats because the regular hosted chats on Twitter offer a great way to connect. They help you to learn in your professional sphere, and you can check out a number of Twitter chats that Karen is going to be able to make available to you later, where you can seek out those that might be of interest to you. And then think about joining some other spaces that provide professional development. Again, these kinds of free webinars that you're in today, you might want to think about joining an EdCamp or an unconference, and many of those are projected online besides being face-to-face. And again, as I shared, joining a Google Hangout. Next. So remember, let's think about how we're going to use this to provide us with professional development and share this idea with our colleagues. So you're going to build your bio, you're going to choose a tool and use it, you're going to connect with colleagues, you're going to think about joining events and communities, and you're going to lurk and learn. Next. And when we talk about how can it support our practice, here's lastly some recommendations that I have for you. When you begin to jump into a social media space or you're thinking about bringing colleagues over, find a mentor. Find someone who's very comfortable using social media and using it to develop themselves professionally. Get comfortable with a platform or a tool. Get comfortable with blogging, which we haven't had much time to talk about, but blogging is a way to develop yourself as an educator. It is a social media tool because you share and you comment. So think about the platform that you want to begin to get comfortable with and really begin to dig in and use it. Seek out free online PD as you're doing today. Begin to collaborate and share these resources with your colleagues that are doing it or others that might not be. And lastly, so importantly, don't be afraid to ask for help. And thanks so much for allowing me to share today.
Lisa, thank you. That was really wonderful. I really appreciate that. And I know everybody I was definitely engaged in hearing what you were saying, and I hope that our audience was as well. Audience, can you please, in your attendee window on the right, use the little raise your hand button and give us a show of hands if you have ever attended a Twitter chat before. If you have ever attended a Twitter chat. You see the little raise hand buttons? Good. We're seeing lots of hands going up.
Oh, yay. That's great.
Fantastic. Okay. And now I'm going to take the hands down for a second. Give me a show of hands if you think that you might be willing to try one in the next month or so. Please raise your hands. Come on. All right.
Explain what you just said.
Good. Oh, so glad to see it. So glad to see it. It's a very, very welcoming community waiting for you. Lurk and learn and jump in when you're ready. Thank you so much, Lisa. And now we're going to move on to Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Mazza. I am a lead learner principal at Knapp Elementary School right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's my 6th year in this building. I'm also a couple weeks away from finishing a dissertation studying social media and how principals are using social media to connect home and school. It's never been easier to connect home and school with a lot of these tools. So what I'm going to do today is try to, really not talk about the research and family engagement, but really talk about some tools that you're going to be able to see and see how some of our teachers are using them to connect home and school. We'll talk about PT Chat at the end. As Lisa said, she's got an awesome new teacher chat. Every one of our new teachers and our younger teachers and our student teachers, every time I see them, I'm always sharing with them to get on that new teacher chat, sign up for Twitter, and become a connected educator. So I can't say enough about new teacher chat. It's a great piece, and PT Chat follows that up on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern. If you can go to the next slide. All right, so just a little bit about our school. We are a school that blends a lot of different students and families, 22 different languages, 600 students. We're K-6, so there's a lot of facets to consider. We have million-dollar homes about 6 blocks away, and then a mile the other way we have row homes where there's 10 people living in a one-bedroom. And everything in between. So I really think it's a really good representation of American schools these days. They are very blended. There's a lot of different needs, and it's up to us educators to meet our families where they are. We can't just put out 1 or 2 tools or 1 or 2 communication options anymore. We really have to think about offering a menu of opportunities for our families. So we can meet the learners and the families that do not have technology with hard copy options, and also provide for those on-the-go families that need to be tweeting and need to access their Facebook page and email and texting in order to communicate with the school. There are 460,000 new Twitter signups happening each day, and 68% of those happen between the ages of 18 and 35. So as an elementary educator, I'm looking at that population as a lot of our kindergarten, first, second grade parents. So we know they're learning it. We know they're jumping on. The Super Bowl the other night was a great opportunity for a lot of people to take a look at all those hashtags on all those commercials and be curious and try some things. We had a couple of followers to our school over the last couple of days, and I know they were messing around with Twitter during the Super Bowl. So it's really exciting. It's social. It's a real opportunity for all of us, right now to really engage with these social media tools. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. This real quick is Mystery Skype. This is the first teacher, Coach Yetter, who tried Mystery Skype in our school, and now there's 7 or 8 other teachers in our school that do this, and it's spreading because it's a lot of fun. It really brings your social studies curriculum to life. In this picture, these kids are Skyping with another classroom in Iowa. They don't know that right now, but they're using their social studies and map skills to ask the right questions to locate where they are. So when they get home, they're talking about this, and they're asking their parents if they can maybe Skype with grandma who lives in Kansas City or something like that. So it's a real opportunity to have some really inspiring things go on in the classroom, and then kids take that home and share those skills with their families. Next slide, please. I have, 7 minutes left? I'm trying to go as quickly as I can here, get through all of these.
You're good.
one of the big pieces with all of these social media tools coming into play in education, which is really great, but it's also a risk because we risk losing those soft skills and the face-to-face two-way communication that is so important for us to talk, whether it's principal to parent, school to parent, teacher to parent. We really, really need to make sure that these tools are not a replacement to our conversations and our relationships with parents, but it's a complement to those face-to-face relationship building efforts. So through all of this, we really refer to it as our home button, making sure that we're hitting on that at all times. And many of the parents I talked to love the tools, but they told us that if they didn't have a solid relationship with the school, the tools really wouldn't matter. So, you know, in terms of engaging families, remembering the core values in terms of the face-to-face, two-way communication, eye contact, empathy, all of those things. Next slide, please. So in terms of family engagement, there's a lot of leading researchers out there done some great things. You see Karen Mapp is out there, Ann Henderson. Those are two people that wrote the Beyond the Bake Sale book. They have done some amazing research over the years. A lot of the things that are happening in schools that are successfully engaging families are following along with those 4 core values in the Beyond the Bake Sale book. However, in terms of technology and the research with technology, you look in the back of the indexes of their books that these folks have written, and there's little to none in there. So one of the things that we're doing, if you go to the next slide with Joyce Epstein's 6 types of involvement, is we're looking at how we can implement social media tools to satisfy each one of Joyce Epstein's 6 types of involvement. Supporting parents online with parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision-making, collaborating, community. Within my dissertation study, I'm focusing on type 2, communicating, and how we can use these tools to two-way communicate, using blogs and Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. If you go to that next slide. This is a picture of one of our home and school meetings that we do once a month. Our next one is coming up on February 26th, and they're completely open. We have families at home chiming in. We have teachers at home chiming in. If any, would you like to, chime in and participate in that virtually, see what that looks like, you're welcome to it. But this is something we've been offering for the last 2 years for our families. We have families without babysitters, without cars, but they do have internet access. We know that 94% of our families have internet access. 68% of those families use cell phones as the main means to communicate between home and school. So that data and collecting that data at the beginning of every year really fuels for us how we're going to communicate with our families. We've really found that teachers can present different ideas to parents and vice versa. We can have some open conversation, and it almost demands that transparent, collaborative culture that we're working to set up between home and school. So the virtual home and school meetings, we use anymeeting.com for that. It's a free tool, has been really great, and our Home and School Association has been fantastic at supporting that. One thing I want to share is, as we continue to encourage families to become connected and use technologies, it's really important to build that capacity. We have training opportunities, which you'll see 2 slides down from now, that we put on 3 times a year for our families, but it's also important to get to know and build leadership within those parents. So those parents, when they're at the soccer game, when they're at events, they can teach other parents. So it's not just the school and the teachers and the principals and the tech folks that are teaching parents, it's when they teach each other. So we're seeing that Ed Camp experience be huge in terms of teaching each other. We are putting on a parent camp in April because it's really important to us that parents continue to teach each other. Next slide, please. Since we have those meetings virtually, we can take them anywhere. We're going to the Boys and Girls Club this year, the local YMCA. This is a picture of the Lansdale Mosque, where many of our students, 77 students, attend that mosque on a daily basis. So we're able to take, as long as they have an internet connection, which they do, take our home and school meetings there so we can really connect our cultures. Next slide, please. This is a quick example of, putting on a Twitter opportunity for parents to learn Twitter. We have hooked up our Twitter and our Home and Schools Facebook. So every time I send a tweet around the school recognizing a teacher, a parent, a student, we also link that right onto the Facebook page. So some parents choose Facebook, some parents would rather do Twitter, some parents just like to look on the front of our family engagement wiki to see the news. So whatever works for them, we're going to meet them where they are. Next slide, please. field trips are a really exciting day to have Twitter in your school. You send 5 teachers and 5 parents on a field trip as chaperones, but they're also Twitter reporters, and they will tweet the exhibits, they'll tweet pictures, they'll tweet different learning opportunities. And in our front lobby, this is a picture of the monitor, and those tweets go right up to the front of the monitor. So whether I'm the principal or a parent or a teacher or another student in the school, I can look up there when I'm passing the front office and see what those other kids are learning. So this is a really powerful piece in really letting us know what the impact is on Twitter. As a principal, I don't get to go on a lot of field trips, but I can tell you when our kids go somewhere, when they come back, and I know exactly what they've done. I've known the different exhibits they've been to, and it's really cool to see their faces when I tell them all about their trip and what they learned before they even have a chance to tell me. Next slide, please. Fast forwarding that to the home, they get home and they're eating with their family at home. Hopefully there's still many families this day that eat together. We know that that number is dwindling, but it's an opportunity for our families, if they've checked the Twitter or their Facebook or the front of our site, to check in with their families and really ask questions to their children that are specific, not just how was school today? It was okay. But really talk about, you know, I saw you working with your buddies today. I saw you sharing the ebook that you wrote. Can you tell me a little bit about it? And, you know, these are really powerful things that are available in real time without the lag of waiting for the newsletter to come out at the end of the month on what your kid did. So it's a really great opportunity in using these tools. Finally, we want to talk about PT Chat on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock Eastern, again, right after Lisa Dabbs' new teacher chat. We talk about engaging families. We talk about technology, non-technology, home visits. We have experts like Michelle Borba, Larry Perlazzo, many other people. We like to get these folks on to talk to parents and teachers. So you're not going to just see teachers on there. You're going to see parents. You're going to see open dialogue in a very safe place. We also have students. We have students that chime in from Student Voice. We have a student moderator. So we really try to work on what each of us needs on any given week. Next slide, please. In terms of all the different efforts, again, it's about a menu. It's not about having 10 different options for parents and making them use all of them. It's about having as many as you possibly can offer and letting them choose what works best for them. Meeting parents where they are. When you go to a restaurant, you don't sit down and order the whole menu. You order exactly what you're feeling on that particular day. Just a little while ago, I texted back and forth with a parent using Google Text. Another parent had emailed me. Someone else had tweeted something out. It really depends on what it is that the parents desire and what they need. And knowing that you're going to be working on so many different, with so many different families that require different things, it's really up to us teachers and leaders to step up, you know, to lead this effort, to offer that, and really to continue to complement the face-to-face relationship building. Last slide, please. Just some next steps for us. We're working on having our own school hashtag for parents to have our own chats. We're going to have a digital family summit. We're going to be participating in Digital Learning Day tomorrow. Our teachers and parents have generated a whole bunch of technology junk, so to speak, that isn't in use anymore, but it's valuable to us in the next room here. We're setting it all out as a digital museum for our kids. So really engaging parents and teachers in everything that you do. And these social media tools make it so easy for us to do it. Last slide. This is just something that when we have a parent or teacher that signs up for Twitter in our school and follows us, we make sure we send them home the next day with our bumper sticker. That's all. Follow us and learn with us on Knapp Elementary School. It's nice to be here with you guys today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. Really fantastic to have you with us here today, sharing your leadership about school parent engagement and wonderful examples and reinforcement that you're doing all the way along. So thank you for trailblazing for us. We're going to go into the classroom, and both Ronnie Burt and John Samuelson will be sharing with us some ways that we can use social media tools for student engagement. Just along the way, if anybody is on Twitter right now, just a reminder, the hashtag for today is SM4EDU, and that's SM, the number 4, and then EDU. Thank you so much. Here's Ronnie.
Thank you, Karen. I hope everyone can hear me okay. And also thank you to everyone that's joining us here. It's been great so far. And as Karen said, my name is Ronnie Burt, and I do work for EduBlogs, and I've been with this for about 3 years. And before that, I taught secondary mathematics for 6 years, 5 years here in the Austin, Texas area, and then 1 year in a small international school in the middle of nowhere in Mexico. And it was actually in the school there in Mexico where I first was introduced to EduBlogs and blogging with my students, and continued on using it on and to where we are here today. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. So first off, I think that one of the last slides that Joe presented was about the menu of different options and making those available. And something that I've really come to learn and understand is that I think that blogs become that glue that holds everything together on your blog, on your students' blogs. It really is where you can you just tie all of your different profiles that Lisa was talking about and all that together into one place that that really holds everything. So we did a survey with our users recently and asked them how they were using blogs with students. And so it was lots of different answers, but there, I guess, were really 4 main ways that educators are using blogs with students and in their classrooms. And the first is to have that global collaboration and authentic audience that we were discussing with Twitter and that. So there's lots of different ways that, and examples that we can share where you're using a blog post, commenting. You have students from different classrooms, different schools, different countries, reading each other's writing, and really building that global audience, which is really engaging to students, and also just provides a lot of perspectives. Reflective blogging, so students reflecting on their learning and reflecting on what's going on in their classroom. E-portfolios, which can be kind of similar to the reflective blogging. E-portfolios is kind of the growing way that we're really seeing blogs being used with students. We have lots of examples where kids are getting blogs as young as kindergarten, first grade, and that blog is going to be with them throughout their entire academic career. And what's great about it is if the students leave or when they graduate, wherever they go, they can always take all of their work, all of their data with them, and it can be used elsewhere. And we have several that have gave student blogs in, I think, 6th grade, in one example that I can think of where the students are graduating this year, and so they have a good 6-7 years worth of work all in one blog, one space. Most of the time these e-portfolios are public and open. You get parents, you get grandparents, families, friends, all engaging with the students' work. And then collaboration and discussion is kind of just a generic terms for all of the 3 different things that I've already discussed. But really, blogging is, so blogs are in a lot of ways nothing more than a website. And you're seeing that blogs look more and more like websites, and you're seeing that general websites that you visit look more and more like blogs. And that's because they're designed to encourage collaboration, discussion through commenting and things like that. So some student blogging tips. We have just, if you are interested in starting with blogs and you're still not sure, you're not really sure what they are, you just want to get your feet wet, we suggest always just starting with a class blog. So you just create a blog and just start putting up some of the things that you're working on. Then you slowly introduce commenting to students. Put a post up and have students comment. And once they get through all this, when we provide lots of resources, you teach what good quality commenting is and that sort of thing. And then once students get the commenting down, then students can start posting to the class blog their own original ideas and work. And then from there, an ultimate goal we believe strongly in is that students would have their own blogs that they've earned, or depending on the age or the experience that you're working with, you might start with the students with their own blog as well. That works well too. The next slide. And speaking of starting blogging with students, I did want to share, because it's coming up soon here at the 1st of March, these open free student blogging challenges. These are held twice a year. They're 10 weeks long, and you don't have to use EduBlogs. You can use any blogging platform out there. And what it is it's a way where basically once or twice a week an activity is posted to the Student Challenge site. It's a blogging activity, and it's appropriate for all age levels, experiences, and the like. And it is a way of kind of building that global community. So we know that many, 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 hundreds and hundreds of classrooms are participating and will help connect you up with mentors, help the students, make sure that students receive comments on their posts, and they're all doing the same activities, writing posts about similar topics. So it's a lot of fun if you can fit it in. But the thing is you don't have to do the whole thing. You can pick and choose the activities that you want your students to do. You know, it's very, very flexible to meet your needs and the needs of your students. And it's studentchallenge.edublogs.org, and we encourage you. And then I know we've talked a lot, you can go on to Twitter. I know that we've talked a lot about Twitter already, but I did want to share a little bit. When I was preparing this presentation here, I saw this video, and so we can just play maybe 15, 20 seconds if it'll work of this video that one of our users posted to their blog of her first graders using Twitter in the classroom. And for whatever reason, when you did that, my monitors decided, there we go. Well, that's a good visual. I can just share with you, and this link is in the related things, but here are first graders using Twitter in the classroom, and I just thought it was the cutest, funnest thing. These students are talking. You can't really hear very well, I don't think, but they're sharing what they're learning and how they're using it. So I encourage you to kind of look that up. Afterwards. It's just a fun video to watch if nothing else. But Twitter does have age restrictions of 13 years or older to create an account. But as the teacher shares with her, with you in her post, she has one class account because she was working with younger students, and she'll post for them, or she'll have them write it, and she'll click publish. But you can also have a class hashtag, have a teacher hashtag that you follow, that your students follow, that you can use as a back channel in your class, or that students can post questions outside of the classroom. You can provide relevant hashtags depending on the topic that you're learning, current events that are going on. And then I did want to share the hashtag comments for kids. Is a fantastic one to follow if you are blogging with your students. If you publish or if you tweet with the hashtag comments for kids asking for people to look at this student, that lets people know that that's student work and that we're looking for comments on that student work, and it's a growing community there.
Yep. Is that where we are, Ronnie?
Yep, I think that was it for me.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much. And just to let everybody know, we will have those links to the blogging challenge available on our resource page afterwards, and we'll have the full link to the Twitter account. So fantastic tips for using both of those tools in the classroom. Thanks so much, Ronnie. And now we're going to turn it on over to John.
Okay. Thank you for having me. I'm at a Starbucks, so I'll have to apologize in advance. I just stepped out of a presentation at TCA, but I just wanted to say it's an honor to be on here with Lisa and Joe and Ronnie, and I really could have used all three of your help, because after I did a session on using the iPads with special education students, I had about 5 people come up to me and they just wanted a Twitter lesson. So I do believe in social media a lot, and we use it pretty regularly. Now, so my first one is for Pinterest, which came out at probably about October of last year. So like any red-blooded male, I went in full force to Pinterest, but it was really helpful for connecting with the students and the teachers, and it's just a really great way to visually organize the bookmarks and different things that you have. And I'll give you an example right now. I'm sitting next to Matt Gomez, who is one of the founders of KinderChat, and we have made a collaborative Pinterest board for this conference. It's the, for those of you that don't know, TCA is the Texas State Conference, and it's a pretty large conference. And what we did was we created a board of elementary ideas so that people when they go into different sessions, can pin their different ideas from that session. And we also made one for middle and high school. So we have 2 Pinterest boards going, and we use Twitter to push it out to people so that if the educators are interested in just following it, or if they're interested in pinning to it and actually collaborating with us, then they can just ask me for permission. I just send them an invite. And so that's what we have going right now, just from a teaching standpoint. I know that's not classroom, but that's what we're doing, and it's I think it's doing a pretty good job so far. The conference really starts tomorrow, full blast. So you can go to the next slide. So anyway, these are the different ways that we used Pinterest in my classroom last year. And if we found different things on the internet, we have a current events board that we would go to, and then we would watch either the video or we would talk about the article on there. And it was a good way. I always remember in 4th grade, which is what I taught last year, current events were always a big one for us, and I tried to continue that in honor of my 4th grade teacher, who was my favorite elementary school teacher. And we also went around, and since we do have a lot of iPads in our district, at that point, I would also give the kids, I don't know how other people feel about this, but I also give the kids my phone, and if they finish their work, I'd have them go around the school and just take some pictures, and then we would use different types of apps to go ahead and edit the pictures and get different ideas, and I really just kind of left it open for the students. But boy, we had some people use like typography and just make some really interesting. Sometimes they would take pictures of their friends, but sometimes they would just take pictures of objects, and they would turn them black and white, and it was really interesting just to have the picture a day board, and that was one that parents could follow. And we also had, just to connect a little bit more with the parents, because we were having we were going one-to-one iPads for the entire district. So we started the iPad app board so that parents could go ahead and share apps that we used in class, and we could share that with them and be pretty transparent about what we had. And we also have our project board where if the kids created something, like say, and explain everything, we could go ahead and pin that video so that they could go ahead and showcase their work. And there's a lot of times when I'm on Twitter where I see somebody will go through and send out a video that's very inspiring. I don't know if how many people have seen the recent one, but it was about a kid president. The kid president video is very inspiring, and I think that kids should see that. And if you haven't, that's one that I've pinned to one of my boards for school and educational videos. And we also would keep it for myself for tech tools to try, so that if kids finished early, they wanted to try a new website, they could go to that board and they could go ahead and try out and just kind of give me the feedback and tell me if they thought it was a tool worth using in class or if they just thought it wasn't worth their time. And so then I did talk about the TCA board, but I think that the TCA board, we'll have to see how it goes. When the conference starts tomorrow and everybody is there, we'll see if we can really get some pins going up there and just have a good basis to share all of our information among the teachers of Texas. And go to the next slide. I'm sorry, can you hear me? Okay. So we do have math games that we go through. I think that Pinterest is a good way just to organize the different, showcase different things that kids can go to, and instead of saying you have to go onto this app, you have to go onto this everyday math app, we can say that people are going to different websites, and we can just go here. You can pick among these 5 websites that are on the math game board. Next slide. And one of my favorites is Edmodo. And we've been using Edmodo for, like I said, almost since its inception. Started using it right away with my classes. And the reason we did this was at Barton Creek, we actually got our booster club to buy an iPod Touch lab before the iPod Touches even had cameras or video, which would have been helpful if we bought them a few months later. But we had this iPod Touch lab before the iPad was even, conceptualized. So I had a lot of experience kind of like downloading apps and trying to work with things. You go from consumptive apps to creative apps, but then the hardest part was finding a place where the kids could share and comment on each other's projects, and Edmodo fit that bill. At that point, we were also using a site called Glogster.edu, and the way that I found Edmodo was Glogster.edu, you could export it to Edmodo straight in there. It was one of the few places you could export the kids' interactive digital posters, which is what Glogster is. So we went through and we used Edmodo, and we just kind of set our specific rules that we went through. And I'll tell you what those rules are for Edmodo, because there is a certain kind of finesse to setting it up for everybody if they haven't been on it before. So I think you can go to the next slide. And so here's kind of our Edmodo rules, because it can get a little dicey if you don't kind of just teach kids how to properly use social media. And I think that the best way to teach kids to properly use social media and prevent cyberbullying and all those things is to actually just sit down with them and have them practice it in the real world, which is what Edmodo allows you to do. It is very Facebook-like with its interface. So what we do is we would go through and we would sign up the kids, and we'd make the group. Teacher has to go and create the account. They make their group, whatever that you want to call it, and then you get like just a nonsensical group code. But the kids go in, they log in as students. You give them the group code. And then what they usually do at first is they just kind of find it interesting that they can actually chat in the same room together. So I kind of let them go through and I just let them get it out of their system while I'm signing everyone up. And then what happens is I say, okay, that was your one chance to chat. So now here are the ground rules. And then I just go through and I erase all the posts that they have. I say, we're positive, and when we are commenting, we give a thoughtful comment, we try and constructively criticize, or we ask a question for why the students didn't do something. We are in 4th grade in Texas, so we take the state writing exam, so we try and always use correct grammar and spelling the best we can, and we don't, if you don't spell something right, we don't sit there and correct you right away or anything like that. We just sit there and we say, if somebody was coming in, I'd say, hey, you know, John, would you try and use ending punctuation when you're using Edmodo, or would you try and make sure that you're spelling it all the way, you know, to your capabilities? And we don't allow text talk like LOLs or LOL or anything like that, and we don't allow emoticons either, because that's one that kids try and put in there too. They're big on the emoticons. So we really try and just keep it straight sentences with correct grammar. This was 4th grade when I used it all. I've been a 4th grade teacher for 17 years, and then I currently now am in my school as an educational technologist, where we're trying to use everything, the iPads for creative project-based learning, basically. You can go to the next slide. I think that's almost all I have. But anyway, I did want to say that the Edmodo is very good for connecting with teachers as well. There's a whole social feature to it where you can get notifications. You can get notifications to your phone, or you don't have to. It's just a good way to go through it. Like, right, and I can see on there that, like, if you can, we used to make Animoto videos all the time. We don't as much anymore, but there's a good thing to, it's a good place to post things. And you can post your Animoto videos there, and we can watch them in class, and we can share them. Kids can watch them at home. And I think one of the best features was, when I've been traveling a lot more and attending some conferences, so that when I go to, when I went to, say, Mobile 2012 in Phoenix, Arizona, I could actually kind of ask the kids a question. The kids that would come in at night, I'd say, hey, can you post one of these things from your project for me? And they could go and say, hey, sure, Mr. Samuelson. They would go through and post it. And I think that that was kind of a clincher for some people, that I don't know, I want to talk to my kids a little bit more outside of school. I like it, and I'm all for it. So I've had a lot of kids, even over the summertime, do projects for me, and I say, hey, I'm going to ISTE. Will you go ahead and do a snap guide? Make me a snap guide real quick. And they make snap guides, and it's incredible. So I'm a real big fan of social media, and I think that teachers should, like, I agree with Joe, find the one that you like and stick with it.
Fantastic.
And you can go to the next slide.
All right. Well, hey, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much, John and Ronnie, for sharing with us these fantastic, concrete, great real-world examples of how you can take social media directly into your classroom. I've seen lots of questions come in about the slides. I do want to let everybody know, yes, we will be publishing the slides as well as the entire webinar link. We're also going to have links to all the wonderful resources that have been talked about here. And if you are following on Twitter with the hashtag SM4EDU, you'll be able to see those links to the wonderful boards that John was talking about that he's been putting together with Matt Gomez of KinderChat. And so those are the links to those boards are right there. We'll be publishing the Blogger Challenge links. So if you want to right away start bringing some of these social media tools straight into your classroom, we've got some support ready for you starting right away. What I would like to offer right now, we have a couple more minutes. If anybody has any questions, you can type them into the question box. Joe, I have one for you that somebody has asked. And the question is, with parents coming in on so many different channels, how do you keep it straight?
I have an iPad. You know, I think it's just you got to give yourself some structure, and and you got to make sure that you are allocating the face-to-face, putting the face-to-face on the front burner every single day, allocating time to be on the tools and this and that. I mean, I basically walk the entire building snapping pictures, tweeting out different takeaways, kid quotes, different things throughout the day. So I'm getting a lot of the different pieces all at the same time, whether it's a verbal conversation with teacher or student or parents, or getting the communication on my phone or the iPad or whatever, however way it works. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's got a completely different schedule. Evernote works really great for me in terms of being able to share. So does Google Docs with parents and teachers and leaders and whatnot. Just having things all in one place is really important, and making sure that you're comfortable with what you are. What works for me is not necessarily going to work for anybody else. Everybody's got different responsibilities and different pieces. It's basically just taking a look at what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and figuring out which tools complement or amplify what you're doing.
Great. Thank you very much. And John, we have a question. How can one convince the parents and help them feel comfortable that their children are using social media in the classroom?
Okay, the way I guess the best way for me to try and say it is I just try and be completely transparent with the parents, and I try and show them, and we have parent nights that we do in our district that really tries to help people understand social media. I mean, I think you fear what you don't completely understand, and I think Joe hit it right on the head. He has an iPad. There's, you can really manage these things if you just, I can manage all the different things that I'm on, just because that's kind of how I'm wired and built. But if I can go through and just kind of give the parents the basics for what's going on and have them understand that this is why we're doing it. We're doing it for educational reasons. I'm doing it so that you can see what's going on in the classroom. And I think that after you kind of explain it to them face to face, and I'll even sit down and work through it with them and show them exactly one at a time if I have to, parent nights as well. I think that you just always reflect it back to the kids. I'm giving kids I'm making a Pinterest that the kids have access to for photo of the day, because I think it helps foster their creativity. And even though the Texas legislature doesn't want me to foster creativity or creative thinking, I'm going to do that because that's what I believe in. And so once you boil it down to the kids and you kind of sit down and show it with them, I think that they come around pretty quickly.
Great, thank you. And we have time for one final question, and I think this probably is something that's resonating with lots of people. Teachers like me already spend endless hours grading. What are your teachers giving up to facilitate all this social media in the classroom? Who wants to take that one on?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I think that I've got a teacher who's right now, I'm watching her share out comments for kids blogs, Miss Morrison 123, one of our 6th grade teachers. So what she's doing is utilizing those blogs as her classroom website. She's building in, and parents like to look at their own kids' work rather than read someone's website. So she's trying to accomplish both by harnessing those tools, those blogs, her Twitter feed, everything, and it's all about the students, keeping the students right at the center of everything that you're doing. We're doing the same thing with the home and school meetings. Every one of those home and school meetings, there's a student group or student club that presents right in the middle of the meeting. It really keeps everything about the students.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I'm sure as other people have more questions, let me just come back here and let you know. Here's everybody's Twitter addresses. So please, this would be a great time to come on Twitter and send a message to our participants today, to our facilitators, and let them know what continuing questions you have. Please consider joining the new teacher chat or the parent-teacher chat, sponsored by Lisa and Joe. Ronnie is more than happy to answer questions about EduBlogs, and John has all the scoop on iPads for you at iPadSammy.com. And I do want to say that here is the resource list. It is not up yet. It will be up tonight because we wanted to get the final version of this presentation so it mapped what you'd be seeing. So tonight you may go to vols.pt SM4EDU, CAPS Matter on this SM4EDU, and you'll be able to see links to the webinar slides. We'll have the recording available next week or possibly Friday. There will be articles for educators. There will be links to all of the different things that you've learned about today and some wonderful, wonderful additional resources and examples. For example, there's a top 50 ways to use Google Hangout in your practice and in your classroom. So all kinds of very great roll up your sleeves, things I can do tomorrow tips for educators. I do want to thank everybody for attending today at McGraw-Hill Education and for participating and for offering us this great opportunity. I know it's a big deal to take an hour at the end of the day, so educators, you rock. We really appreciate you joining us. And I do want to let you know that Volunteer Spot is here to also save you time and stress organizing parents or in older grades organizing students. We're free parent-teacher conference scheduling, online sign-up sheets, and reminder emails. So if you can, please consider going to volunteerspot.com, and what we can do is you can take a real quick demo on how Volunteer Spot can help save you time organizing parents, volunteers, and students for all the things that you organize. I do want to say thank you to everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you to McGraw-Hill.